This is from Damn That's Interesting on Reddit. And it's a clip from 1978 warning of an impending ice age. Check this one out.
At least 8 times in the past million years, it has advanced and retreated with clockwork regularity. If we are unprepared for the next advance, the result could be hunger and death on a scale unprecedented in all of history. What scientists are telling us now is that the threat of an ice age is not as remote as they once thought. During the lifetime of our grandchildren, Arctic cold and perpetual snow could turn most of the inhabitable portions of our planet into a polar desert.
Wow.
Yeah. In 1977, the worst winter in a century struck the United States. Arctic cold gripped the Midwest for weeks on end. Great blizzards paralyzed cities of the Northeast. One desperate night in Buffalo, 8 people froze to death in marooned cars. Pat Bushnell was on the road that night.
Traffic just absolutely stopped. I was afraid of being stuck in the car all night long with the cold and the wind, running out of gas. And then what? I think that if we had to go through a real bad winter, just like we just went through, I think we'd have to think about moving someplace else.
Move where? The brutal Buffalo winter might become common all over the United States. Climate experts believe the next ice age is on its way. According to recent evidence, it could come sooner than anyone had expected.
Ooh, scary music.
And this is in my lifetime.
At weather stations in the far
like
north,
I was
temperatures have
2,
been dropping
but still.
for 30 years. Seacoasts, long free of summer ice, are now blocked year-round. According to some climatologists, within a lifetime, we might be living in the next ice age. Of the 9 planets in our solar system, only Earth has conditions favorable to human life.
So imagine if in 1978, when they made this video, governments of the world decided to enact a global geoengineering project to prevent global cooling. Imagine the catastrophe. Now that they believe it's global warming and the sea levels will rise, imagine they were like, okay, we're going to, enact all these policies. We are going to create these devices, these chemicals that will make the planet warmer. And then 20 years later, they're like, uh-oh, the planet's actually warming and the ice age was wrong.
They might have done that. They might have
I'm not saying
done
they
that.
did. I'm saying
That's interesting.
if it is true that climate change is happening and the planet's getting warmer, imagine if in 1978, they actually tried to heat up the planet out of fear of an ice age. This is the problem with humans thinking they're smart enough to control everything.
And also,
time.
I'm reading about we're in what's called the Quaternary Ice Age, which started around 2.6 million years ago. So this whole thing, they were already in an ice age. That entire show that they were just doing when they were like, we may enter another ice. You smart humans didn't know you were in an ice age when you were making that video. That's the stupidity of intelligence.
Dude, when we were kids, they thought dinosaurs were lizards. Now they're birds.
Yeah.
So maybe they're not even birds. Maybe they're mushrooms. Who knows?
Yes.
Your face,
bro. I was just thinking. I had a vision a couple nights ago about something about you were sparking some memory about what we think something is that it's not. Anyway, it'll come back to me. No, I don't think dinosaurs are mushrooms. That's not why I said that. But they have feathers. Apparently, they had feathers.
Yeah.
That's freaking cool.
Yeah, they're birds.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's why chickens look like little dinosaurs.
That was one of
walking around.
That was one of my favorite moments on IRL.
You almost saw a memory, like my neural pathways were reforming.
And in that moment, Ian shattered through the veil and saw the truth of the universe.
Oh, if I was on DMT,
dinosaurs were mushrooms.
We would have known. I think that my theory about mushrooms, about fungus. I think what happened was we got a planet, it's twisting open, you've got hydrogen, oxygen making all this water, panspermia. You got all these spores just splash into Earth. So we've got these spores in our tide pools. The spores that start eating the vegetable matter become mushroom, become fungus. The spores that start eating other spores become animal. And that's where we came from.
Well, where did those come from?
Space.
Well, yeah, but that's just pushing it back.
Yeah,
that's a cop-out.
Yeah.
I like the way you think, Phil.
Well, Phil, what happened was there was a volcanic eruption, and in this charged particulate burst, it made contact with water, And then these chemical compounds began to merge, forming proteins that began to self-replicate.
Yeah, the formation of amoebas are fascinating because it's like a single cell that joins with another single cell, and they work together to get the food to come in between the two of them. And then other cells will come up around and become kind of like, they'll curl in so the food doesn't fall out. And you see like 6 cells working together to capture food that they can all share. And then it becomes an organism. And you're like, oh, that's a thing now. And we see a 6-celled organism. Pretty cool how that works.
That's a pretty good theory.
And the way that fungus, evolutionary biologists would be able to tell you specifically how they think fungus evolved from like the tide pool. I'm not the guy.
You know, the funny thing is the next evolution, of course, is going to be these gigantic, creepy robots.
Oh, dude.
It's kind of awesome, though.
You got that video of the Boston Dynamic, the new one?
I kind of wanted to save that one for its own segment.
Man, creepy as hell. You tweeted it out like...
Hold on. Before we move on to that, like I want to at least make the point, like they've been talking about like global warming and stuff, and for a long time, the coastlines have not changed, right? There is significantly less ice on the North Pole than there was 20, 30 years ago, but the coastlines have not changed.
But what about, the Sphinx? Wasn't that underwater?
It was.
Was it?
Apparently, there was water involved in the erosion.
There's lots of erosion on the sides. I don't know if it was heavy rainfall or if it was actually submerged.
And I think that it was like eroded and then they built up, fixed it and stuff too. I'm not sure.
You guys know what expanding Earth theory is?
Yeah. There's a cool video we could pull up too.
Hold on. What if the Earth is expanding? Because if it does, that means the water levels will go down.
Oh. That's interesting.
Yeah, that proves it.
It does.
That's actually that's possible.
I don't know that
unless it's making more water as it expands open, but I think you might have an interesting.
So let's say you've got I don't know that this is true. I think this is just like fringe internet stuff. But the idea is that tectonic plates aren't actually going under and over and overlapping and spinning around. It's that they're overlapping and unfolding, and so the Earth is actually getting bigger. So imagine you've got, a ball, and around it is an inch of water in every direction. If the ball gets bigger, the water will spread thinner and thinner to cover the mass. So if the Earth was more compressed 4,000 years ago and has been expanding, the water would be going down because it would less and less water to cover the surface of the expanding ball.
Whatever keeps Barack Obama's house dry is the theory that we should go with.
It's possible that there is more hydrogen coming out as it expands to make more water. So there might be a homeostasis with it, but the concern with with the ice caps melting and the sea levels rising is that there's a word for it. The ice is pressing down on the poles. It's pressing down on Antarctica. So if that ice is abruptly removed and Antarctica lifts up because there's no more weight on top of it, Earth elsewhere will dip down. It will sink. So like they think what happened to Atlantis is that because all those ice caps just abruptly changed, Atlantis sunk down as well as got hit by a flood. But if it's not abrupt, then I don't think. Punch. Yeah, if it doesn't happen all abrupt, like just in a day or 3 days or something, then it might be a really slow. You might be able to.
There's a funny viral video. Who was it on Joe Rogan? Was it Graham Hancock?
Today, the clip was circulating today. I believe it was
and who else was on that show? Basically, the other guy was saying that these ideas are rooted in white supremacy.
Yeah.
Because they believe that Atlantis was a bunch of white people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
that was a cool. Did you watch the whole show? I didn't get a chance to see it.
I mean, look, I don't know about I'm not a guy that studies the Atlantis stuff, but I don't imagine that Atlantis has had. I don't know. I don't imagine that Atlantis was actually real, to be honest with you. But that being said, whoever comes up with a story or whatever culture is creating the story, because I think that it is a myth. So whoever's writing the myth, they're going to make the inhabitants like them, especially 1,000 years ago or whenever the story of Atlantis first became started circulating or whatever.
Well, people just imagine themselves. People project.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
It's ridiculous to call it racist or white supremacist because someone is sitting around a room full of white dudes and then is imagining another, like a person 100 years ago, and they imagine a white dude. It's like people, there's pictures of Jesus in different cultures, and there's like Japanese Jesus, there's black Jesus, Arabic Jesus, and all that stuff.
I think the
swarthy Jesus.
The Atlanteans had Neanderthals in prison. The last Neanderthals on Earth were in prison in the capital, and they all died in the flood. That's in my script that I'm writing anyway. That's in my it's awesome movie that is going to be produced. It's going to be one of the greatest movies of Atlantis ever made, called The Lost City of Atlantis.
I love it.
Big budget. The guy that was debating Graham Hancock's name is Flint Dibble.
There you go.
And that's the guy that wrote an article and kind of I don't want to speak out of turn, but they're saying that he was
Drag that man. He was
like,
he was
took my
trying
quote
to
out
call
of
that dude
context.
racist.
Yeah, he made a thing. It was like Graham Hancock's stuff he's citing sources that are racist, and then he was like associating Graham with racists.
Drag
and
that man.
And Graham was like, "You're making me look bad. You're associating me with things." Like, no, that's not what I meant to do. I'm out of context. It was a pretty cool episode.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.